So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Screenshots, we're taking a look at something that should have made Oscar history, but for some reason was bypassed in 1986. Now, for the 5 people out there, my famous line, who do not know who Richard Penniman is, woo! Great gosh almighty, it's Little Richard. Now, in late 1985, we're hearing rumors amongst the media in Canada and throughout the States that Billy Preston, the former member of the Beatles, the great musician and session player and performer, all-around great writer, had joined together with Little Richard to do a single called Great Gosh Almighty, It's a Matter of Time. And there was a lot of buzz saying this is Little Richard's big comeback. We find out it's going to be in this Nick Nolte, Richard Dreyfuss, Bette Midler comedy, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, which has a basic plot. A homeless guy shows up in this swanky home, and he's obviously homeless and destitute, and his appearance basically changed the fortunes of the family around. The daughter, the son, Bette Midler, Richard Dreyfuss, based on a 1932 French farce. It was basically kind of something for everything. Now, in the movie, it basically uses Little Richard as a plot device. Little Richard plays a character by the name of Orvis Goodnight, who basically is living in Beverly Hills, and he's big, chip on his shoulder like most Little Richard performances, on stage or off. He believes that people don't want a black man living in Beverly Hills. He notices the family is a little bit off kilter, and when the Nick Nolte, the homeless guy, shows up, all kind of hilarity ensues. And there's a famous soliloquy saying, black man not supposed to live in Beverly Hills. When I get broken into, no police cars, no helicopters, nothing, shut up. Anyway, there was buzz going around about the movie. In the Golden Globes, it got Best Actress nomination for Bette Midler. Golden Globe Best Comedy or Musical didn't win, but the Oscars were coming around. We said to ourselves, well, this is Little Richard, this is Billy Preston. There could be an Oscar nomination here. And when the nominations came out, not only no Best Supporting Actor nomination for Little Richard, which is a stretch to begin with, but where was the Best Original Song nomination? This was Little Richard's big comeback. It was his first big hit in nearly 3 decades. It went in the lower echelon of the top 40, top 50. I think it was 41st on the Billboard charts. Everybody was playing the video. It was getting played at teen dances, weddings. It was kind of tutti frutti with a little bit sped up. And Little Richard just plays the heck out of the keys. He really brings it forward. There was an explanation saying that the Academy didn't really take the song seriously. We still don't know if it was officially put in by Disney. This was the first R-rated movie that Touchstone Pictures, which was a Disney side thing, had released. And the movie, it has PG-13 elements. There's no nudity, but it just basically there's some talk about cross-dressing, some talk about infidelity, cheating, and stuff like that. Anytime you put Richard Dreyfuss and Bette Midler together, it can be over the top. The movie itself, it's 2.5 stars out of 5. It's okay, but Little Richard makes the whole movie. Every time he shows up, he steals every scene. And when there's a party at the end, Little Richard basically hits those keys, and if you look very closely, it looks like the keys are creating fireworks, which is one of the big end scenes in the movie. Now, if you have a chance to check out the song, it is available on vinyl. It's available on, if I'm not mistaken, CD single. It's available in compilations. And it really relaunched Richard's career. And a few years later, of course, the famous incident where he was supposed to give Best New Artist at the Grammys, and he basically said, you all guys have been ignoring me for years. I am the architect of rock and roll. He is the queen of rock and roll. We all say that. It doesn't matter what gender he is. Wouldn't be for Little Richard, rock and roll wouldn't have been as flamboyant. And because no Little Richard, no Mick Jagger, no romantic movement, no cross-dressing movement, no Bowie. Because Little Richard was himself on stage. He basically was a homosexual man in an era where homosexuality was frowned upon. He wasn't proud of his sexuality. He had difficulty with that for years, but he was a true entertainer. Even The Who talked about him in Success Story, that famous song, was a rock and roll singer on the television, going to give up his music, take up religion. He gave up rock and roll for a while, but this was kind of his unofficial comeback. And for years later, he basically was on every show possible, talk shows, was on the Dolly Parton variety show, so it relaunched his career quite a bit. But when you're denying Billy Preston and Little Richard, two great songwriters, two great creators, an Academy Award nomination because you don't take it seriously, you have problems. And 86 was not a great year for nominations in any shape or form. There was a lot of movies that should have been nominated. I really think if this was 2019, he would come up with a song, he would have got nominated. Because you talk about the Me Too movement, you talk about gender rights, different stuff. Little Richard was the innovator. Why would you not recognize an innovator? Oscar Academy members, if you ever listen to this, tell me why. So on this beautiful late February evening, we're waiting for another storm to come in the Maritimes. We wish you good luck. And as we like to say in the Little Richard universe, put your pancake makeup on twice because it get hot on stage. Keep your stick in the ice. Bye.